You see the hole in that?
It's interesting that point you make. There's Jeremy Clarkson is
6:45, I think, or just after. Sunday morning, off to the Salford to BBC Breakfast. Talk about the earliest harvest ever. The dry weather problems it's caused some people, and in fact, we've actually got rain this morning, so we won't be harvesting today. Yeah, so if it's a good piece, I'll put it on in a bit. But let's get there first. I went and got some examples of barley. So this is kind of like what barley would look like growing on sandy land. So how short it is compared to stuff that's grown on a bit stronger land. But it's grown a lot better. So I'm going to take them as an example. And obviously you can see the difference in the straw length as well. And that's a good, I don't know, half the length maybe. I'm obviously back from Media City. Really good piece actually, so here it is.
Let's talk more about this with arable farmer Olly Harrison, who's here in the studio. Olly, we've spoken to you many times on the programme before. I think last time you were here, you said you were on course to lose about £250,000 from your business this year.
Yeah.
Has anything happened in the interim that gives you any cause for optimism?
So I think about a month or so after I was last here, we did get a bit of rain, and the last 5 or 6 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, have been pretty decent growing season really now. You know, we've had warm weather, we've had some wet, but that's just in my area. Going further south, it's still as dry as anything. Yeah. Going to Cumbria, they're having a great time. The maize is growing really well for the cows because they've been having the rain and the temperature as well. But there's a real divide really. The east and the south are still dry as a chip.
And what does that mean for ultimately for not just for your businesses, but also for stuff in the shops?
Yeah, I mean, yields are down, so we're going to have to start importing again this year, like we had to last year because of the wet weather. I don't think you're going to see a price change in the shops because I know there's a cost to bringing it in, but because it's a global market, you know, we're kind of used to that, and it's very cheap to move stuff around the world on boats, especially at the moment.
So that's encouraging at least. However, that doesn't mitigate things for you.
No, it doesn't help farmers at all.
No. So just show me, you brought in 2 different types of barley, I think.
Yeah, so this is kind of what's going on. I don't know whether you can see with the camera, but
yeah,
on the drier ground, the sandier ground, you know, you've got these really small heads and really stunted crop. If I put it on the table, you might see better. Yeah. And then on the heavier ground, it's more clay content where it can hold the moisture a bit more. It's obviously grown and it's been able to survive more. So you've got like a bigger head and you've got twice as much straw. So straw's going to be really short this year as well. And
straw is important because that's the bedding that is used for lots of livestock.
Yeah, and also some straw as well they will actually eat. But the other thing is, if you imagine, it's been so dry in the spring, you've got like these sort of thin, short, stumpy crops. Well, you've got like 3 or 4 tillers, which is stems. Well, in a good year, you'd have maybe 10 tillers. So not only are the crops thin, they're short, and the heads are small, so everything's all combined together to make it an awful harvest, really.
When you were here last time I spoke to you, anyway, you had 2 beakers with the water, you know, coloured water, and showing you'd had about this much rain, and that was what you would normally get. I'll do that again. That's what you normally get, and that's what we've had this year. How bad is this year compared with other years?
Well, the sheep knocked my rain gauge over, but luckily my dad still does it old school every morning and has since 1975. And he said that we've had 1/3 the annual rainfall in the first 6 months of this year, our average. So you know, obviously, if we normally have 18 inches, we've had 6. But not only that, 46% of that came in January. So since February, we've had very little rain whatsoever.
How worried does it make you for predicting the future, I suppose, and knowing what to sow and when to sow it?
Well, extremely. I mean, you know, it's ironic. Last year we were losing money and had no yields because we had no sunshine and we had a lot of wet weather. This year it's the opposite. You know, we have what's called the Sustainable Farming Incentive, which sort of props us up and insulates us a bit from these extremes. But of course, I was lucky to get on the scheme, but lots of farmers couldn't, and it was now closed, and it will not open again until next January. So that's a worry for a lot. Again, I've said in the past, I've got quite a bit of diversification. So, you know, the holiday let's doing okay. There's been really nice weather, but But equally, like, how long do you take that money from the diversification just to prop up the farm? When if you were an accountant, you just look at it and say, why are you farming? It's just not adding up.
And it's interesting that point you make. Jeremy Clarkson has won plaudits, I know, with the farming community for the series that he's done on his farm, but he's been able to diversify quite successfully with lots of other things like farm shops and everything else. I mean, are farmers easily able to diversify, and is that what you want to do anyway?
Well, not really. We like growing things or raising animals. I'm urban fringe. I'm only 25 minutes from here, half an hour from Manchester, 25 minutes from the middle of Liverpool. My holiday let and my dog walking fields do really well because there's population. But if you're on the top of a hillside in the middle of nowhere, unless you can get planning permission for a holiday let or something like that, what you're going to do. But why should farms that produce food for the UK to eat have to do something else and then put our food security at risk? And I know we can import it, but that's okay when everything's okay in the world. Food
security is a crucial point, isn't it?
Yeah. But, if you go back to the Second World War, they didn't need to invade us. All they had to do was cut our food off. Our food supply, the boats coming in, and with what's sort of been going on in the Middle East and boats moving around, and I think they disrupted the signals to their GPS 2 or 3 weeks ago. Well, you get a bit of that and stuff starts to not arrive in time. It's very dangerous. We also have huge natural resources generally. It does normally rain here. We get some sunshine, we get so many hours a day. We can generally grow cereals very well. So we should, government should really invest in UK agriculture, because then if we have a surplus, then we can export it, and then it's money in the pot again, isn't it?
Thank you for coming in, as always. Fingers crossed for the rest of the harvesting as well. Olly Harrison, who's with us here in the studio.
Yeah, you can see that gone now, can't you? Bit needle bearing, will it?
No, well,
Gone a bit thin there, James.
just been talking about that.
Little vid of replacing the bearings on the front of here, because we had a small bit of temperature rising in there yesterday because this end bearing's gone. James is splitting the belts. Some of them have chains. I think the belts are probably easier to split, to be fair. And then we'll pull it out, slide a new one in. Actually just clamps them, aren't they, that grip on that chunk? It's clever that, isn't it? Just grabs them. At least when it's a chain, it kind of like rattles and all like falls in, doesn't it?
Stopping these now.
They're stopping making them?
Rubbish, yeah.
Why?
Don't know. Rather they're just making them now.
All right.
What not doing them.
You wouldn't know it was gone, would you? But yeah, there's plenty of slack in it, isn't there?
What's the facade like? It's starting to go, isn't it?
Is it? Does it just sits in though, doesn't it? Don't think it's like a cap that sits inside, I think. The tension there that he slackened off, and then he's just undoing the bolt now, and then you might see better on this side actually. That tension has been slackened. Take that off there, and the whole thing should just fall out the front, is the plan. The nuts off that one now. It's a bit awkward on this side because you've got this hydraulic motor and the teeth. It's like a starter motor but hydraulic. That's what reverses it if it jams up, so that's in your way. Should wriggle out unless we've got to spin the blocks. Now we took these pins out. Ta-da! See where got a little bit off and the paint a bit. Is that water or oil? It's on the circle with my hubcap off now. gone. One on just the inner or the outer.
There's only one.
Doesn't look gone though, does it?
Toward the shaft.
So it's slipped on the shaft, hasn't it, more than anything?
Strip out the side down.
So this is the problem. That bearing has failed. And then it's picked up and spun on the shaft and worn the shaft. But can you see the hole in that? That is the cap that stops moisture getting into the bearing and dust. And as it's been going up and down, it's been catching against here because that had got a bit distorted by muck going behind it. And the same that side anyway. We've knocked it back with a sledgehammer. So where there's a mod to seal that up somehow. But then that does pivot as well on this pin. So I don't know whether you could. But yeah, it's just... Yeah, it's better now, but whether there's a workaround for it to stop that happening. Olivia wants this mowing for some reason. So we'll try and mow it. Seen the size of these blackberries? The size of that. Mowing down there, and I've realised I can put the weather stations there out of the way of the sheep because they've knocked them back over again. That's wild, mint. It smells amazing. I've moved the weather stations as well out of the way of the sheep. Pretty much feels like winter today now. Puddles in the yard. Rain coming down. Pretty bleak. Dead quick birthday. Richard Dent is 65. I wonder, is it Richard Dent? Oh, no, that's Denton. Sorry, that works for Roperfield. Harry and George. Harry and Henry George are on there. Martin Vines is the big 41. Steve Palant, I think it's pronounced, is 60, and Leo Featherstone is 8, and we're now up to £93,396 plus gift aid, getting very close to 100,000. James and Clara are at a birthday party with Charlotte, and Olivia is now making pancakes. She didn't fancy a party in the play centre. I'm going to end the video today. Yesterday's video was really long, and if you haven't watched it, go and watch it because there's quite a lot happened in it. You can obviously see how the compound nearly went on fire as well. I'm going to eat some pancakes, edit what you've just watched, and yeah, try and have a little bit of a sit down for once, because I feel like this whole week's been hectic, and this next week's going to be a lot the same. So if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. In fact, actually, what's been your favourite video this week? Let me know in the comments. It's interesting to know what people like, and I'll see you later. Actually, one last thing. Here's an update from Liv and Andrew.
Hello everyone, just a little Sunday update from us. We are officially 1 week in. We started on Monday, so this is our 7th day on the road. We are travelling today from Cotswold Farm Park, where we stayed last night, to Glastonbury, so about 80 miles we're doing today. It is currently about 5 o'clock, might be just after 5, and we have about 25 miles to go, so we are making really good time today, and we're going to make it to our destination in good time for some rest this evening. So yeah, it has been a tricky one for Andrew. The hills just keep coming, and yeah, we didn't really anticipate Gloucestershire to be quite this hilly, so definitely struggling. I think it's really frustrating as well when you see a bit of a downhill and then you just know that the next thing is going to be quite a big uphill, so it's really kind of struggling today a bit. And also the effects of the last 6 days have kind of caught up to him. I think the tiredness is really hitting, but he still carries on, still getting on the bike, and he's still doing every mile that he possibly can. So yeah, he's still doing an amazing job regardless of the tiredness and regardless of whether he's feeling rubbish or not. He still just wants to get to our destination, so lots of words of encouragement today, please. And we should only have about 2 or 3 days left on the road. Once we get to Glastonbury, it's about 180 miles left. So the end really is in sight. We've just got to keep pushing on until then.